Welcome to the course of Programming Fundamentals with Python. This is week number 10, and in today's lecture I will talk about Python list, which is an important Python collection type. So let us see what is the agenda for today's lecture. As usual, we will start with the objectives for this week. After the objectives, I will talk about the Python collection types and different types of Python collection which are available for use. Then I will talk about the list, which is an important collection type. After describing the list, I will talk about important function, which is the list itself, how we can use it, and then some application areas like how we can use the list for repetition, how we can use indexes to refer to an element of the list, and then different functions like the length function and also the remove function, the append function, sort function, different types of built-in functions that we can actually use with the list. And also we will have a look on how we can actually search an item in the list and how we can combine two different lists. So here is the objective. At the end of this week, you will be able to learn about different collection types and more specifically about the list. This will enable you to write simple program which will demonstrate the use of list and also the different built-in functions in order to operate on the elements of the list. So let us start with the built-in type. You all are familiar with the data type, which is actually a set of values and a set of operations defined on those values. Many different data types are built into the Python language. Some of them you have already seen. For example, integer, which is a built-in data type, float is a built-in data type, boolean is a built-in data type, and string is another built-in data type. However, these are not the only built-in data types in Python. Another group of built-in types are collectively known as the collection types. Why they are called collection type? Because they represent a collection of other types, such as a collection of string, a collection of integers, a collection of floating point, or a combination of these. So let us move to the collection types. In Python, a collection is a single object representing a group of other objects. Collection may be referred to as a containers. We can also call them container because they will contain other objects, other types. And these collection classes are often used as the basis for more complex or application specific data structures. Data structure is a subject which you will learn in third semester. Actually, it is a way of representing the data. For example, in computer, you can represent the data in different forms like stack, queues, trees, graphs, tick, list, etc. So these collection types support various type of data structures and different operations can be performed over these type. Well, to make things simple, there are 4 collection data types in the Python, and they are called the list, tuple, set, and dictionary. List, we will discuss it in this week. Tuple is going to be the discussion for our next week, and set and dictionary, they are not that much important for our course. So we will focus on the first 2 collection types, that is list and tuple. What is list? List actually holds a collection of objects, values, types that are ordered and that are mutable. Mutable means changeable. You can change the values of a list during the program execution. And all the elements in a list are actually indexed, and we can allow duplicate members inside a list. So we will see the list in a detail in the in the coming session. And then we have another type of collection type which is referred as a tuple. A tuple also represents a collection of objects like the list that are ordered but immutable. The difference between the list and tuple is that you can change the objects during the program, while the tuple they cannot be modified. That is the main difference. Like the list, tuple also allow duplicate members, and like the list they are also indexed, so they are almost the same thing. The only difference is that the list are mutable, changeable, while the tuple are not are immutable, or they cannot be changed. And then we have the set. Set is actually a collection that is unordered and also unindexed. So you can easily differentiate between the list tuple and set. The first two, they are actually indexed. What is indexed? We will see it in the coming minutes. We will shed some light over them because there is a property of the list. But for the time being, list and tuple, the elements are indexed, while in set the elements are unindexed. And similarly, in list and tuple, the elements are ordered, while in set the elements are unordered. Like the list, here the sets are also mutable, changeable, but they do not allow duplicate values to be held. So list and tuple, they allow duplicate values, while set they do not allow duplicate values. And finally, we have the dictionary. A dictionary is an unordered collection that is indexed by a key which reference a value. So like the list and tuple, we have index in the dictionary as well. And the value in the dictionary is returned when the key is provided. No duplicate keys are allowed in the dictionary. Okay, so duplicate values are allowed, but duplicate keys are not allowed, because keys can uniquely identify an element of the dictionary, so that should be unique, but values could be duplicate. And dictionary are also mutable container. Okay, so list is a mutable container, or you can say collection type, while the tuple is unmutable, and the set is also mutable, while the dictionary is also mutable. So only the tuple is unmutable, unchangeable. Okay, now let us see the list in more details. Before going to introduce the concept of list, let me tell you about the sequence. It is a concept which means that objects that holds or that contain multiple items of data that must be stored one after the other. For example, your names in the attendance list or attendance sheet, they are in a sequence. They follow an order. They are sorted or stored one after another. The items that are in a sequence are stored one after the other. So that is a sequence. You can perform operations on a sequence to examine and manipulate the items stored in it. Python provides various ways to perform operations on the items that are stored in a sequence. And there are different types of sequence objects in Python. Two of the most fundamental sequence type are the list and tuple. Actually, these are collection types, but you can also say they are sequence types because they store the items one after another. So both the list and tuples are sequences that can hold various types of data. Now, what is list? So list is a container, or you can say list is a sequence, or you can say it is a collection type. All are valid about the list. It will actually contain multiple data items, or you can say multiple elements, and each element that is stored in the list is known as an element. So the data items that represent the list are referred as the element of the list. Lists are ordered container of other objects, as we just saw that the items must be in ordered form. So lists are ordered container that will contain other objects, other values, other elements, other data items. And the list are mutable. You can change the elements of the list, which means that their contents can be changed during the program's execution. So this is a very important property of the list, that lists are actually mutable, which means you can change the contents during the program execution. And also another important property about the list is that lists are dynamic data structures. Dynamic mean that you can add items or you can remove the item from the list during the execution of the program. So we can use various method to work with the list in a program, and we will see some of the methods in this lecture. So after defining the list, let us see how we can actually work with the list, how we can actually create a list in the Python programming language. Lists are created using square brackets. As you can see here, these are the square brackets. So in order to create a list, you have to use the square brackets. And then you have the elements inside these square brackets. So John is an element, Paul is an element, George is an element, and Ringo is another element. So in this case, we have a list of 4 elements, or you can say our list is made up of 4 elements. Okay, so you can see a list is a collection of data items, and these items are called elements. John is an element, Paul is an element, George is an element, and Ringo is an element. So in our case, in this example, the name of the list is list1, and it contains 4 data items or 4 elements, and they are enclosed in square brackets. In this case, we have created a list of 4 elements. Okay. Another important thing about list is indexed. Actually, all these elements are stored at a memory location, and these memory locations are referred by indexes. It is important to note that, like the loops, the indexes start with 0. So this is index 0, index 1, index 2, and index 3. And you can see it graphically here. In this example, we have created a list of 4 elements. The first element is stored at index 0, second element is stored at index 1, and then index 2, and then index 3. Another example of list is shown here. Here, name of the list is even numbers, and in this case our list contain 5 different elements that are the first 5 even number, that is 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So in this case, the list has 5 elements and they represent the even number. It is important to understand or remember that the elements of the list are separated with the help of a comma, and they are enclosed in the square brackets, and they are assigned to this list with the help of the assignment operator, and you're familiar with this assignment operator. So the items that are enclosed in the square brackets and separated by commas are the elements of the list. Once you execute this statement, the variable even numbers will reference the list like this. So we have a list, the list have 5 members, and it is referred by a variable, and the variable is even numbers, and these elements have indexes started from 0, and it can be represented in memory like this. And here is another example. In the first 2 examples, we saw integer values, while in this example, the elements of the list are string, and they are actually names of some persons. Okay, so this statement create a list of 5 string values. After this statement is executed, the names variable will reference the list, as you can see in this picture. Okay, so we have a variable names which refer to a list which contain 5 elements, and the type of elements is string. So a list can hold item of same data types. like in this case the data type is string, in this case the data type is integer, and again in this case the data type is string. However, that is not the only case. We can also use the list to contain or to hold different types of data. For example, you can assign this list a string type of data. Here you can assign an integer type data, and here you can assign, for example, a floating point data, and so on. So it is possible to assign different types of data to the same list. That is also possible. Now we have a function which is called the list itself. So Python also has a built-in function called list function that can convert certain types of object to list. That is the basic responsibility of this list function, that it will convert certain types of objects to the list, or it will allow certain objects to become elements of the list or data items of the list. For example, the range function returns an iterable, which is an object that holds a series of values that can be iterated over. And one of the example is shown here. We have a variable, there is numbers, and here is the function list, which actually contain the range of values started from 0 to 4. 5 means starting from 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, and then 4. When this statement executes, the following things will happen. The range function, which is mentioned here, and you are familiar with the range function. We studied it in the for loop, if you remember. We used it actually inside the for loop. So once this statement is executed, the range function is called with 5 passed as an argument to this function. So we are passing an argument, a value, as an argument to this range function, and the value is 5. The function returns an iterable containing the values starting from 0 up to 4. The iterable is passed as an argument to the list function. You can see that actually we are providing this as an argument to the list function, and the list function will then return these range of values, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in this case, the list function will return the list that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is a list. We provide the list a range of values starting from 0 to 5, and this list function actually convert these values into a list. This is in the form of a list. So you can see the values, the elements of this list is actually the range, that is 0 to 5. So list is actually a function which will convert any object to the list. So you can see here we converted an object to a list, and that is with the help of the list function. You can also provide, here is another example. You can also provide a range like this. Remember, a range has 3 values. The first one is the starting value, this is the ending value, and this is actually the step. This is optional, but this is mandatory. So in this case we provide only a single value, while in this case we are providing 3 values, that is the starting value, final value, and the step. So the output of this program is starting from 1, take a step of 2, that is 3, and then take another step of 2, that is 5. After 5, add another, you can say add 2 starting from 1. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, 5 plus 2 is 7, and 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11, but 11 is greater than 10, so we will not write 11 here. So here we have created a list of 5 elements from this range function. Okay, and that is possible with the help of list function. So we provide a range, a value inside the range to this list function, which actually convert that object, that values into the list, and these are the items. So this is possible with the help of list function. We also have a repetition operator that we can use inside the list. I'm sure you must be familiar with this operator here, static, which is an arithmetic operator that is used for multiplication of two or more than two numbers. However, we can also use this symbol for another purpose. When the operand on the left side of this operator is a sequence, for example, a list, and the operand on the right side is an integer, then it is known as a repetition operator. Let me repeat. This is an arithmetic operator. We use it for multiplication of numbers. However, we can also use it for another purpose. There is a repetition operator. If the operand on the left hand side of this static is a list, so you can see here, this is an operand. This is the left hand side. There is a list. And if the operand on the right hand side of this symbol, this operator, is an integer, then this thing is known as a repetition operator. Okay, and then we assign this value to a variable numbers, and with the help of print function we are printing this the value stored in these numbers. So what do you think, what is going to be the output of this program? Actually, the repetition operator makes multiple copies of a list and join them all together. Okay, so the repetition operator will make multiple copies of a list. So here we have a list. The element here is 0 and it is a number multiplied by a number. So make 5 copies of this list and put them all together. That is the basic responsibility of the repetition operator. Okay, so once you run this program, the output of this program is going to be like this: 0 0 0 0 and 0. So actually this is a list. It does two things: multiple copies of the element that is 0, and it combines them into a list, and that is possible with the help of the repetition operator. So in this program, in this line, 0 list multiplied by 5 actually makes 5 copies of the list and joins them all together in a single list. The resulting list is actually assigned to a variable, that is numbers, and with the help of print we are printing that variable. Here is another example. In this case we have only a single element, that is 0, while in this case we have multiple elements, multiple data items in a list, that is 1 2 3. We are applying the repetition operator on a list. So remember, on left hand side we have a list, while on the right hand side we have an integer. But here in this case, on the left hand side, the list contain more than one elements. So how you are going to multiply it now? What do you think, what is going to be the output? So we know that it will multiply the list. Okay, or you can say that it will print these elements 3 times all together. So that is going to be like this. The output is like this: 1 2 3. So we have print the values of the elements of the list for the first time, then we are going to print it for the second time, and then for the third time, all together. So this is the output of this program. So in this case, the list could be a single element or multiple element, and that is possible with the help of repetition operator. Okay, we are talking about list. Most programming languages allow you to create similar things like the list, but there the concept is known as array. It's an important data structure as well. You will study about array in data structures. But in other programming languages, we have the facility of single array and multidimensional array. These arrays are very much similar to the list, but much more limited in their capabilities. Array have certain limitations, for example, size, restrictions, indexing, restrictions in performing different operations, accessing the elements of the array, sequential access, etc. So they have certain limitations. In addition, you cannot create traditional arrays in Python. Python do not have a facility for array because a list serves the same purpose and provide many more built-in capabilities as compared to array. So instead of array, Python provide the facility which is known as list. So list is, you can say it is like similar in array, which is used in other programming languages. Iterating mean loop. How we can use a list inside a loop. Last week we were studying about nested loop, and inside the nested loop we saw a program where the loop variable actually take values from a list instead of the range function. And there I told you that we will discuss about list in the next week. So here we are discussing about the list. So you can use list actually inside the loop. For example, here we are using it inside the for loop. You can also use it inside other type of loops. Many programming techniques apply to list. For example, you can iterate over a list with the help of for loop as shown here. What's happening here? You are quite familiar with it. We have a variable and we have a list which contain 4 elements. They are enclosed in brackets and they are separated with the help of commas, and we assign them to the variable with the help of assignment operator. Then we have a for loop. This is a variable, in is the keyword, and it takes value from this list. Once you print the n, that is the variable here, it will display the values of this list, and the values are 99, then 100, 101, and 102. That is going to be the output of this program. Okay, so here we display the values with the help of print function, and the values come from the for loop variable that is represented by n, and actually it takes value from the list which is represented by the variable numbers, and the items are mentioned here. After that, another property of a list is indexing. Up till now we seen different methods to access the elements of the list, data items of the list. Another way to access the individual element in a list is with the help of using an index. What is index? Each element in the list that has an index. What does it do? It actually specifies the position of the element in the list. Let me erase it. Okay. Here we have a list which contains 4 elements. Apply the indexing on it. Every element of the list has an index, and this index specifies its position in the list. Another thing about index is that indexing starts at 0. So the index of the first element is 0. The index of the second element is 1. The index of the third element is 2. The index of the fourth element is 3. And if there are more elements, then it will continue in the same way. Two things. Index actually refers to the position of individual elements in the list, and index start with the 0. The index of last element in a list is 1 less than the number of elements in the list. What does it mean? Here the total number of element is 4, or you can say the size of this list is actually 4, and this is the last element. The index is 3, and you can see 3 is 1 less than the total number of elements. So if you add 1, it will equal to the total number of elements in the list. And why is that like this? Because we start the index from 0. Here you can see another example. We have a variable my list and it contains 4 elements. The indexes of the element is like 0, 1, 2 and 3. You can also print these indexes with the help of this statement. If you want to say where the first element is stored, where the second element is stored, where the third element is stored, and where the fourth element of this list is actually stored, or what are their positions, you can do this with the help of this statement. My list is actually the name of this list, and this is the way to access the elements stored at these locations. 0 means first location. So the first location, the element stored at the first location is 10. So it will display 10. Similarly, my list, and this is the location, the first location. So the element stored at the first location is 20. So it will display 20. So you can see this is another way of actually accessing the elements of the list with the help of an index. We are providing indexes and they are printing the values. We provide index and it will print the value. This is another way of printing the or accessing the individual elements in an array with the help of an index. An index always starts with 0 and the last element index is less than the size of the list. You can also access the elements with the help of a loop. Here is another example which is shown here. Same case is here. A list having 4 elements. Then we have a loop variable and the starting value is 0. We are using a while loop. As long as this value is less than 4, print my list, which is here, and the index. So index, what is going to be the value of index? The value of index will come from this loop. So initially the value is 0. Hey, print my list 0. Value, that is 10. So it will display 10 on the screen. And then in the next statement, we actually increase the value of index by 1. So the previous value of index was 0. The new value of index will be 1. Check the condition was less than 4. Yes, condition is true. Come here and display again. My list, now the index is 1. This is my list. This is index. This is actually 0, 1, 2, and 3. The positions of each element. So what is the position? What is the element stored at my list 1 position? My list 1 position. The element here is 20. So it will display 20 on the screen. Execute the next statement. Increment the previous value of index by 1. So now the new value is 2. Check the condition. 2 is less than 4. Yes. Come here and execute the body of the while loop. Now the value of index is 2. My list 2. What is the value at my list second position? The value here is 30. It will display 30 on the screen. Increment the value of index by 1. The new value is 3. Check the condition. 3 is less than 4. Yes, condition is true. Execute the body of the loop. Print my list. Now the value is 3. What is the value stored at the third location of my list? So this is third location. The value here is 40. It will display the 40. Again, increment the value. Now the new value of index is 4. 4 is less than 4. Condition is false. So this statement will not be executed. And the output of this program is like this. So you can also display the values of the list by using for or while loop. You can also use negative indexes. Instead of 0, 1, 2, 3, you can use -1, -2, -3, and so on to identify the element's position relevant to the end of the list. If you use minus indexes, it will start from the end of the list. How it works? Actually, the Python interpreters add negative indexes to the length of the list to determine the element position. And that is very simple. For example, index -1. It actually is identify the last element. How? Because the total number of elements, for example, in this case is 4. So 4 minus 1 is equal to 3, which means this is index 0, this is index 1, index 2, and index 3. What is the value at location 3? That is 40. So -1 actually refer to the last element. What about -2? 4 minus 2 is equal to 2. That is the second element. So the second, to access the element at the second last location, you have to use minus 2 and then so on. You can also use negative indexes to access the list from the end. And for that you have to use the minus indexes. In a similar way, you can also use a loop to access this list from the last element. Okay, guys, we have a very useful function and very simple function which is called the length function, and it is also a built-in function. It actually returns the length of a sequence or the length of a list. Here is a simple example. If we have a list which is represented by my underscore list, the total number of elements here are 4. We want to find the length of this list with the help of length function. So it is going to be like this. You can declare a variable with the name size, and then you can assign the length of this list to this variable. After that, we can print the value of this size, which is going to be, what do you think, what is going to be the output of this program? In this case, it is 4, because the total number of elements in this list is 4. So if you want to find the length of a list, you can use this length function to determine the length of a list. Another property of list is that they are mutable. As just we saw in the introduction, that you can change the values of the list during the execution of the program, and that is possible with the list. Consequently, an expression in the form like list index can appear on the left side of an assignment operator. What does it mean? If you want to change the element of a list, for that you have to use the assignment operator. This is actually the format. List means name of the list, which for example in this case the name of the list is number. So you write the name of the list and then the index, the position for which you want to change the value. This position is 0, this is 1, this is 2, position is 3 and 4. I want to change this value. For that I need to access it. So its position is 0. Go to the list numbers and then go to the position 0 and then assign the new value to this position. After execution of this statement, if you print the numbers, the list now, this is going to be like this: 99, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is our new list. We have changed the value stored at location 0 or index 0 with the help of equal sign, equal operator, and the syntax is here. It means that lists are mutable. You can change any elements of the list by doing this operator. The syntax is here. So here the statement actually assign 99 to the list numbers and the location 0. Another example about list are mutable is shown here. If you want to use indexing expression to fill a list with values, you have to create the list first, as shown here. This is actually a more technical program which involves the loop, but the main thing is here. We are going to create a list. The name of the list is numbers and the values are 0. Remember this repetition operator. It will create a list of 5 elements, all having 0. We have a list of 5 elements and the elements are zeros. And then what's happening here? As long as this index value is less than, this is another function and we already seen it, that is actually the length of the list, which is 5 in this case. So 0 is less than 5. Yes, condition is true. What will happen here? This is the change that we want to do. Assign the list numbers index 0 value 99. The new value is going to be like this. And after that, increment the value of index, so the new value is 1, and do the same thing. 99 again. How much time? 5 times 99. You can also change all the elements of the list with the help of the while loop. Okay, list concatenation. Concatenation actually means combining two things together. And for that, you can actually use the plus operator. What does it mean? It means that you can combine two lists together to form one single list. And here is a simple example. Suppose you have two lists, list 1 and list 2. Both have 4 elements. You want to combine them. So for that, you have to create a third list and then apply the plus operator on these two lists, that is list 1 and list 2, and then print the element of this list. What do you think? What is going to be the output of this program? Actually, it will display the lists in one list, and the elements are here. First, display the element of the first list, and then display the element of the second list in a one single list. So there is output. We have combined two lists with the help of this plus operator, and this operation is actually called concatenating list. That is not the only case. Instead of combining integers, you can also combine strings. For example, you have two lists. One of the list contain the girl's name, second list contain the boy's name, and you want a list that will contain all the names, including the girl's name and the boy's name, and they have the string constant. So you can do it as well. Once you print this all name list, it will contain the names Joanne, Karine, Lori, and Chris, Jerry, and Will. Okay, so we can combine lists that will contain integers type data, and we can also concatenate lists that actually contain string type data. That is also possible. And instead of using this plus operator, you can also use compound assignment operator. If you remember this operator, this is actually compound assignment operator. You can also use it to combine two different lists. Next, we have an operation, and that is very much important. It is important from paper point of view. For a student, normally they are asked to find a number, to find a name in a list by using if-else statement. In other programming languages, it is known as finding an element in an array. But here, as we saw, that list is almost identical to array. So here the program is actually known as finding an item or an element in a list instead of array. For that, we have to use an operator that is known as in operator. You can search for an item, you can search for an element in a list by using the in operator. In Python, you can use the in operator to determine whether an item is contained in a list or not. So here is the general format. Item for which you are going to search, in is the operator, and list is name of the list that you want to search. Okay, one thing, we are not doing any programs in this lecture, because in this lecture we are only studying the theoretical aspect of list. If you want programs related to the list, please go to the programming week number 10 of this course. There you will see all the programs which are related with the list and all the operations that we are studying here theoretically. Okay, so this is a simple example. Here we have a list. The name of the list is family names, and the elements of the list are Ali, Bilal, Jan, and Khan. Search is another variable. We want the user to enter a name to search, and whatever value, whatever name the user is providing, we are assigning it to the search variable, and then we are taking a decision on that variable. If you see, here is the syntax that we just seen. This is name of the list, family name, in is the operator, and search is the item. For example, the user has provided John here, so we want to search John in the list. If John is in the list, then you have to print the message search actually will print the value John was found in the list. If John is not present in the list, then it will display the message that, for example, John was not found in the list. We will see this program in the practical session, but the theoretical aspect is here. Syntax is important. First, you have to write the item for which you are searching. In is the operator, and list is name of the list in which you want to search this item. So you can also search a list for any information provided by the user. Beside these operations, we also have other very useful built-in functions or built-in methods that are available in the Python, and they are very useful. You can use them with the list. Some of them we will see now, but most of them you can try by yourself. For example, there is a method which is called append, and it actually add an element to the end of the list. So if you have a list which contains 4 elements and you want to add a new element, for that you have to use the method append. It will actually add the new element to the end of the list. You also have the clear method, which removes all the element from the list. Similarly, we have copy, which will return a copy of the list. If you want to create a copy of the list, then you have to use this built-in method. We have count, which will return the number of elements in with the specified value. We have extend, index, insert, pop is actually a word that we use in data structure. It means removing the element at the specified location. So if you want to delete an element from the list when the index is given, then you can use this method. And also removes the item with a specified value. So if the value is given, you have to use the remove. If the index or the position is given, then you will have to use the pop. And reverse is actually opposite of sort. You can sort the element of the list with the help of sort functions, and you can print the element of the list in reverse order with the help of reverse method. Some of them we will see now, some of these built-in functions. Let us see the append method. As I just mentioned, the append method is a built-in method function that actually add an item to the list. If you want to add a new item, then you have to pass that item as an argument to the function, and that will be added to the end of the list. Here is an example. Suppose you have an empty list, a list that contains no element. The name of the list is name_list. If you want to add a new element to this empty list, then you have to use the append method. How you can actually use it: first write the name of the list. In my case, the name of the list is name_list, followed by the dot operator, followed by the append keyword, and followed by the element. Okay, so I want to add this string element, that is Ali, to this list, and this is an example of the argument. So you have to provide it as an argument to this function. What is happening here? Actually, this Ali will be added to this list. Now I want to add another element, so you have to do the same thing to add another element. First write the name of the list, followed by the dot operator, followed by the append method, followed by the string element enclosed in the parentheses, which means this is an argument of this function. And then after Ali, Bilal will be added to this list. Now I want to print the elements stored in this list. Initially the list contained nothing, but now we have 2 elements. So if you print this this list, it will contain 2 elements, that is Ali and Bilal. Okay, something important that I would like to share is that The empty list is actually a list with no elements. Okay, so if a list has no element, you can assign it values like this. But what if a list already have an element? For example, we have Abbas already in the list, and then you apply these two. What will happen? So as I just mentioned, it will add Ali to the end of the list. So if you already have Abbas there, it will add Ali after Abbas, and then after that, if you want to add Bilal, it will add Bilal to the end, and if you have other elements, it will continue adding them to the end. Okay, next method, a built-in function or a built-in method is the index method, and you are familiar with the word index now. It is actually referred to the position of the element, where the element are stored, at which position, at which location the elements are stored in the list. The first element is always stored at index number 0. So you have already seen how the index are actually used to refer to the elements of the list. Here is another example how we can actually refer, or how we can actually use the index method inside. So we have seen how we can find the location of an element just here. You see, you can actually access the element by using the indexes. You can also print the index of the element by providing the name of the element. So we seen here, we can also access the element by using the indexes. But here we are trying to learn how you can actually find the location of the element with the help of the index method. So here is a simple example. We have a list. The name of the list is list 1, and this list has 5 elements. And as you know, all these elements have indexes starting from 0. Now I want the indexes, not the elements. I want to display the locations, the positions of this element, not this element. For that, you have to use the index function or method. Print list 1, name of the list dot index. Index of what? Kate. It's like this. Hey, we have a list. The name of the list is list 1. And we have an element. The name of the element is Kate. What is the index? What is the position? What is the location of this element in this list? So the output is 0. If you provide Pit here instead of Kate, what's going to happen? It's like this. Hey, I have a list. The name of the list is list 1. Go there. And then I have an element that is Pit. Go there. What is the location? What is the index? What is the position of this Pit? So it will display 4. So if you want to display the location, not the element, you can actually use the index function like this. Okay guys, we also have another method which is insert. Insert is like the append. Append at a new element, insert also at a new element. The difference is that append will actually add the element to the end of the list, while insert will add a new element to a specified location, at a specified location. If you do not want to add the element at the end, you want it to insert the element at the beginning, at the middle, between these two, between the second and third, and so on. So you have to specify the location, and for that you can use the insert function. So the insert method allow you to insert an item into a list at a specific location. Remember, specific location. Actually, you pass 2 arguments to the insert method. There is the index, specifying where the item should be inserted, and the item that you want to insert. So in this case, the index is 0, means I want this element, this item to be inserted at the beginning of the list. Okay, if you want to insert the element, for example, here, so this is your location 0 and this is 1, then you have to write 1 here. It will insert joy here. That is the insert method. We also have a sort method. As the name indicate, it is used to rearrange the elements of a list in ascending order. Lower value first, then from lower to higher value. Here is an example. You have a list. The items are in unsorted form. You want to convert it into ascending order like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. For that, you have to use the method that is sort. I want to apply this sorting function over the list, my list. Okay, so this sort will be applied on this list. It will sort out these items in ascending order. But the question is, what if somebody wants to display these elements in descending order? For that, you have to provide an extra parameter. Okay, the syntax is same. Write the name of the list followed by the dot followed by the sort, but here inside the parentheses you have to write reverse is equal to true. By default it is false. Reverse equal to true means sort the items in descending order. So that is going to be like this. The output is like 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and then 0. If you want the items to be displayed in ascending order, just write the sort. However, if you want to display the items in descending order, in reverse order, for that you have to write the keyword reverse equal to true, which is provided as an argument, as a parameter to this function. So for that purpose, we have the sort function. Here we have used the reverse as an argument, but we also have, we will see that we also have reverse function, which we will see in a moment. Remove is opposite of insert. What does it do? As the name indicate, the remove method removes an item from the list. Which item? You pass an item to the method as an argument. Once you remove an item from the list, it actually reduces the size of the list by 1. And also all of the elements after the remove element are shifted 1 position toward the beginning of the list. Important note, if you want to delete an element but the element is not in the list, then it will display an error. Here is an example. You have a list which contains food items. Name of the list is food. In this case, we have 3 elements. That is pizza, burgers and chips. If you want to print the list items, it will display these items. Now I want the user to provide a value and I assign that value to the variable item. Now I'm going to take a decision over the item. What value the user has provided, I am providing it to the remove built-in method. I want it, this is like this. Go to the list food and then remove the item. What is item? Is actually the name provided by the user. If you provide pizza from here, then it will remove it from the list. Once this is deleted, all the elements will move 1 position backward. So that now the list will contain burgers and chips, and the total number of elements has been decreased by -1. Previously the list was contain 3 elements, now the list will contain 2 elements. So the size is decreased by 1. This is possible with the help of remove function. And then, as I just mentioned, we also have the reverse method, which will actually display the element of the list in reverse order. And this is very simple. Just write the name of the list followed by the dot operator followed by the reverse method. So it will display the list in descending form, that is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can also apply the reverse function over the string of items as well. Delete is like the remove, but here you have to specify the element that you want to remove. So del is like the remove, but the difference is here. Remove method you saw earlier, actually it removes a specific item from the list if that item is in the list. In some situations, you might require to remove an element from a specific index, right? Position, location, regardless of the item name. For that, you have to use the delete statement. So this can be accomplished with the help of the del statement. Here is an example. We have a list of items and they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you want to display the list, you can display it. Now I want to delete an element. Remember, we have to use indexes if we want to use the del statement. So you have to use the indexes. So what does it mean? Go to the list having name my list. Go to the index 0. This is index 0. What is the item here? There is 3. Delete it. Del mean delete it. And then print the new list. So the new list is going to be like this. 1, 2, 3 has been deleted, 4 and 5. Okay. So that is the main difference between del and remove. In remove, you have to provide the name of the item that you want to delete. While the delete, you have to provide the index of the item that you want to delete. We have two similar functions, but opposite. That is the minimum and maximum function. As the name indicate, they will display the minimum value in the list and it will display the maximum value in the list. And they are simple. Here is an example. You have a list. What is the minimum value here? Is 2. So if you apply the min function and provide it the list, then the list here is my underscore list. It will display the minimum value that is 2. And the maximum is the opposite. What is the maximum value here? There is 50. The output of this statement is going to be 50. Okay, we also have I think it is the last function that we are going to study in this lecture, and there is copying a list. As the name indicate, this function will actually make a copy of the list. If you want to create exactly the same copy of a list, for that you have to use the copy function, the copy method. So to make a copy of a list, you must copy the list elements. How a copy is made? Actually, we have to copy the list elements. In Python, for that, we have already an operator available, and that operator is called the equal operator. Actually, when you make a copy with the help of this equal, things is like that. Both the objects, in this case, both the list will refer to the same memory locations. So, for example, you have a list, and the name of the list is list1. It has 4 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the second line, you want to assign the element of the list 1 to the list 2. After this code is executed, both the variables, that is list 1 and list 2, will refer the same list in memory. Like this. List 1 refer to this list, list 2 refer to this list. To have a more closer look on the copying operation, let us see this example. List 1 has 4 elements. Here we assign the elements to list 2, another variable. If you apply these 2 lines, if you execute these 2 lines, what will happen? Actually, this will display the list that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. And it will also display the same items, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now, assignment operator. We want this element to be assigned to list 1. Which location? 0th location. So this is list 1. We have changed this by 99. And then we want to print list 1 and list 2. What do you think? What is going to be the In this case, actually, this will refer to this list, and list 2 will also refer to this list, because remember, they are actually referring to the same memory, the same elements that are actually stored in memory. But in some situation, we want to make a copy, but a separate copy. For example, if you make the changes to list 1, the changes may not be reflected in list 2. And if you want to make some changes to list 2, the changes does not be reflected in list 1. So suppose you want to make a copy of the list so that list 1 and list 2 reference two separate but identical lists. Different ways are there. One way to do this is with a loop that copies each element of the list. Like this. We have a list L1. We have created another list. There is an empty list. Okay. And then we are using a for loop. Item is a variable and is the keyword list1. It will take values from the first list. Okay. And what's happening here? List2.append. Remember append? It will add the item to the end of the list. So initially the list is empty. So it will append 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. Now we have created a new list, that is list 2. Now we have two separate lists. List 1, although both the lists have identical elements, but remember they are not referring to the same memory location. Now they are separately saved. Now if you want to print list 2, it will refer to this. If you want to make changes here, let's suppose 9, their changes will not be reflected here because they are now separate list, or they are saved in separate memory locations. Okay, this is one way to make a fresh copy of the list. We also have another way of copying a list or making a fresh copy, and that is a simpler way and more elegant way to accomplish the same task, and this is by using a concatenation operator. Remember, concatenation operator will actually join two lists. So we have a list that is L1, list 1, and we have a list that is empty, and we want these two lists, we want to combine these two lists with the help of the concatenation operator. So if you execute this statement, this will actually print the items of the list 2, which are 1, 2, 3, and 4. So as a result of the concatenation operator, list 1 and list 2 will actually refer to two separate but identical lists. So this is another way to accomplish the same thing as we just saw in the for loop operations. Here we are actually creating a separate list with identical items, and the same thing is happening here. We actually create a new list, a separate list, with the help of concatenation operator. So this was about list, different operations over the list, and different built-in functions that we can actually use with the list. In the practical session of this week, we will see all the related programs and all the related programs with the list, and also related with the built-in functions that we can use with the list. In the next week of the theoretical class, we will see two-dimensional list as well as tuple, which is another form of Python collection type. So till then, goodbye.